Protect yourself from online scams. Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here for askleo.com. A couple of weeks ago, I read a New York Times article, which I have a gift link to in the companion article for this video. It detailed how a 76-year-old retired lawyer was scammed out of nearly $750,000, draining his retirement savings. The problem is that this isn't an isolated case. On resolution of that single incident, authorities mentioned that there were at least 7 others pulled into the same scheme run by the same people. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of those quote-unquote same people working hard to scam us all out of our money. It takes many guises. What I want to do in this video is review some examples, some of the signs of a scam, and some of the steps you should take to keep yourself and your savings safe. First, let's review the example scam, the New York Times article scam that I was talking about. Here's a quote from that article. For nearly 3 months, Barry Hyten, a 76-year-old retired lawyer, thought he was part of a government investigation that felt like something out of the movies. He was actually assisting criminals in stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars of his own money. Last fall, he spent just about every weekday doing the legwork and making withdrawals from his bank accounts as part of the intricate scam. He believed he was helping the feds safeguard his money and catch thieves who were after it. They kept telling me, "This is a big case and we're going to sop a whole ring of people," Mr. Hyten said. It was like a rabbit hole. I was going down the hole with him. It cost him almost all of his retirement savings, roughly $740,000. Like I said, scams like this are rampant. The details absolutely differ. There's all sorts of variations on this story, but it really all boils down to people placing trust in people they absolutely should not be placing their trust in. And like I said, this happens every day. Now, one of the pushbacks I get whenever I talk about scams and even some of the malware and other things that I talk about frequently on Ask Leo is that people will respond to me and say, "I have nothing of value." So you don't have $740,000 in retirement savings. Fine. And as a result, they feel there's no need to be cautious, as they believe they have nothing to lose. Here's the thing. Most scammers don't know or care how much you may or may not have when the scam starts. They haven't looked at your bank account until they've scammed you into looking at your bank account. And even then, you still have plenty to lose. Now, of course, scammers' goals can vary and shift depending on what they discover about you along the way, and of course, with the nature of whatever scam they happen to be running. They might very happily take what little you do have. Certainly you have more than zero. Whatever that is, they're happy to take it from you. They may scam you in such a way that you'll borrow or even steal money to give it to them. For example, they might pose as an overseas relative in trouble and in desperate need of cash. Scammers have even faked the kidnapping of a loved one to extort a ransom by threatening to kill the victim, who has not been kidnapped. They may want something other than money from you, usually enough personal information so that they can impersonate you to open credit cards and take out loans where they get the money, but you get the bill. Having little, they may entice you with the possibility of getting riches by helping them out, which often involves your paying a comparatively small fee to begin the process. If you think you have nothing to steal or be scammed out of, you are wrong. And in fact, because you believe that, you are particularly vulnerable. Another common comment that we keep hearing, and this is turning out to be interesting, is that this only happens to old folks. This only happens to folks of my generation, boomers. And indeed, older adults are targeted for many scams. The reasons are varied. Older folks tend to have more money in their retirement accounts or their other accumulations of a lifetime. Older folks are statistically less technologically inclined and thus easier to fool with digital sleight of hand, for lack of a better term. Older folks have also often been brought up to be more trusting and polite, and thus are less likely to hang up or even just say no. So yes, older adults are seen as easier marks and are very, very frequently targeted. However, that doesn't mean you younger folks are off the hook. Quoting Mike Maughan from the Why Do People Get Scammed episode of the No Stupid Questions podcast. So, older adults, which they define as 60 plus, and then younger adults, which is 18 to 59-year-olds. So, older adults were more likely to fall victims to scams with a business imposter, tech support, prizes, sweepstakes, and lotteries, and then friend and family imposters. Younger adults are massively more likely to fall victims to scams in online shopping, investment scams, fake check scams. Regardless of your age, you and I are at serious, I may even say massive, risk. One of the most heartbreaking scams is the romance scam. The scammer initiates casual contact online and then over days, weeks, or even months, posing as a love interest, work the relationship to a point where you would do anything for them. Anything. And anything, of course, usually involves sending them money. There are many, many stories of folks who have lost everything to a quote-unquote lover they've never even met. Even in the face of strenuous objections from family and friends, these individuals persist in going down the path of trickery until all their resources have been drained and their online lover disappears. Particularly since the COVID pandemic, loneliness, already high, has become a pandemic of its own. Scammers know this, and they leverage that fact to lure unsuspecting victims. And, hate to say it, things are getting worse. In March of last year, I played a little with that week's introduction to the TEH podcast. At the beginning of that episode, the hosts, myself and Gary Rosenzweig, introduce ourselves. Except for this episode, we didn't. I used voice-generating AI to mimic our voices so closely that unless you knew what to listen to and listened very closely, you might not have realized it wasn't us. Now, current episodes use an AI voice for the introduction, but it's not an attempt to mimic anyone. Now, imagine you get a phone call from a family member who's pleading with you to do whatever the criminals want because they've been kidnapped, and if you don't follow instructions, your loved one will be killed. And it sounds exactly like your loved one. Particularly in the stress and heat of the moment, encouraged by the life-threatening situation, your skepticism flies out the window. You really believe that the person has been kidnapped because you heard their voice. Of course, you did not. You're the victim of a scam. The scammers have somehow synthesized the voice of someone you care about, training that can easily happen from a single social media post, and are using that to play on your emotions and encourage you to take actions you otherwise would not, like stealing money or worse. And the fact is, AI is only getting better, and it's cheap and easy for anyone to use, including scammers.
The fact is, AI is only getting better, and AI is cheap and easy for anyone to use, including scammers.
Question for you is, was that me? Or was it not me that said that sentence a second time? You can't even believe what you hear anymore. So, protecting yourself. It feels like we can't believe anything anymore. And while that's not absolutely true, I'll certainly agree that it's truer now than ever before. So, how do you protect yourself? I have a variety of recommendations. Number one on my list, honestly, and I'm doing this myself and have been doing it for a long time, don't answer the phone if you don't recognize the number. Period. It's that simple. Just don't. If it's important to whoever's calling, they'll leave you a voicemail. If it's important to you and you've had a moment to consider whether or not the voicemail is correct or true, you can return the call. As soon as something smells fishy, or fishy with a PH, just hang up. Scammers do not deserve your politeness. If something sounds too good to be true, promises of love or wealth, for example, it's likely a scam. Do not engage. If something sounds exceptionally dire, especially if it's presented with extreme urgency, again, it's likely a scam. Do not engage. Have a safe word, something agreed upon beforehand to allow you to confirm you're talking to who you think you are, regardless of their voice. Point them at this article if they look funny at you when you ask them to set it up. And yes, I have one. Are you still using paper checks? Consider going digital. Crooks are stealing checks, washing them to remove the payee and the amount, and then physically rewriting them to themselves. At the other end of the spectrum, if you're ever asked to provide cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, precious metals like gold bars, yeah, really, that's happened, or gift cards, which cannot be undone, it's almost certainly a scam. Don't buy puppies or any animal online. Scammers have no puppy and are just looking to relieve you of your money. Never, ever send large amounts of money to someone you've never met. And undue urgency is always a warning sign. Be extra skeptical. And if you're just not sure, ask for help. I can't stress that enough. Most victims end up digging themselves even deeper by being too embarrassed to ask a trusted friend or family member for help. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Scammers are good, getting better, and they're rampant. I can absolutely guarantee you that others would want you to reach out for help rather than fall victim. Please be skeptical and stay safe. For updates, for comments, for links related to this article and more, visit askleo.com/173296. I'm Leo Notenboom, and this is askleo.com. Thanks for watching.